All right, I talked to you about the new PTR patch 1.36, and it's well underway. That patch brings us automated tournaments that I unfortunately couldn't test just yet, and the observer mode for the entire game. That is very exciting. Probably super hard to do, and that is something that I've been spending a lot of time on because I kinda develop the entire casting UI that you see on this channel pretty much every single day. So I got a lot of thoughts on what's good, and I got a lot of thoughts on what's bad. So basically, what Blizzard did is, first of all, strip the entire UI of Warcraft 3. And that's a very, very good thing, in my opinion, because in this day and age, we are kind of used to seeing free screens where nothing's at. Just information. For example, if you watch a CSGO match, there's barely anything on it. So what this is, I posted it on Twitter and I will gladly show it again, is that's the first step. They completely stripped it naked. And that's really cool. You don't need the big UI that covers 1/3 of the screen with a lot of unimportant information. You also don't have the menu anymore, which is really not necessary if you observe, because you know the hotkeys anyway. So that's quite good. And then they put some boxes on top of it to give some information for the observer, and that looks like this, more or less. You have some features like a resource tab in the upper right hand side with name, gold, lumber, food, APM. On the left hand side you have a little toggle where you can have production and units. On the left hand side you have the minimap that has now been moved from here where the hero box is to the left hand side, which is a very good change. Then you have this hero box that shows you the level, the hero, the skills, and the inventory. Plus you got a unit selection box, so you don't need that huge thing in the middle anymore with the unit portrait, with all the stats, etc. It's all minimized. Plus you have a little bit of a control panel here on the right hand side where you can toggle all of these boxes one by one to have only one of these or all of these. So in general, that's a pretty cool thing. So the first negative thing that I have to mention here is that it's forced. It's not optional. So you can't choose between the old observer mode that basically looks like you are playing the game and this new version where it's not looking like you are playing the game. So first big criticism, make it an option. Just like you did for the panels themselves. Like you can toggle all of these on and off. Make the entire observer mode optional, if that works. So given that I'm giving a lot of feedback here, since there's not much documentation and not many comments from the dev team on this topic, I have no idea about the technical aspects of this observer mode. I have no idea how it's done. I have no idea how deeply it goes into the game. I have no idea if it's just a layer on top. I don't know anything about it. I can say what I like and I can't say what I don't like. There will probably be reasons for why they went with a certain direction. But from here on out, I can only assume, so that's the disclaimer. And there are probably some technical limitations where the dev team wants to do something differently, but can't, because Warcraft 3 is freaking weird the way it works. So that was the first big criticism. The second big criticism is that this is designed to please or to work with as many game modes as possible. And in my opinion, that cannot work. So you saw the one-on-one, and that's kind of okay. But I show you right now when it becomes a problem. And that is kind of here already. Okay, that's the one-on-one. That's okay. This is 2-on-2, and it's already a little messy. So it's always going by team color, by player color, never with team color, even if you change it. This is hard to distinguish what's the team and what's not. It's a lot of information on the left-hand side. It's already a lot of information on the right-hand side. And you don't really have team indicators except for these numbers, which is really weird. And then this is 4 players. And then you get this. I'm pretty sure, given the scale of things, this observer mode is designed to work with 12 players. This is a mess. It's all over the place. And this is little production. This is the start of the game where I took the screenshot. This is like 2 units and 2 buildings. Imagine you switch this from production to unit, and it clutters absolutely everything. It's not good. It doesn't work. It's kind of nice for 1-on-1. It's doable for 2-on-2, but it's also designed in a way that this in the upper, this and this is featured for 12 players, while this is featured for 4 players. And then you have to use the drop-down menu to toggle through the heroes, and it's super unintuitive, and it's messy, and it's packed, and you don't even really see in-game anymore. I don't like that. So I have no idea how to fix this. It's really, like, I have no idea. I think it can work really well for 1-on-1, for 2-on-2, maybe in a stripped down version even for 4-on-4, but for everything else, I don't know if that's necessary, really. I also think that it's only working for up to 12 players, and if you have a map for like 16 players, you can't switch to observer mode anymore. At least not in custom games from what I tested. It works in solo play, it works in LAN games, but it's not working in custom games. So if this observer mode gets introduced and it takes away the option to observe games with more than 12 players, that's not a net positive anymore. And that's kind of bad. So I think the approach of strapping that observer mode onto as many players as possible doesn't work. You have to go for like up to 8 at max, and then in later stages, I think you have to make a different layout, where at the moment you structure everything by what is displayed. So here's the resources, here's the production. I think you have to do it by team. Make a little box for 1 player or 1 team, and then it covers this part, and then this part, and not everything everywhere a little bit. It is messy, so from here on out, I will focus on the 1-on-1 aspect of things, because I think it is impossible to make an observer mode for a situation like this. And it's not really worth the time, as mostly we're observing 1-on-1. Sometimes we're observing 4-on-4 and 2-on-2. But let's be honest, as much as we love other game modes, Observer Tool will mostly be used for 1-on-1, and that should be the focus of it. Another big down, and that's a little bit of a niche thing, is that obviously, as you can see, this is the full-out observer mode, something's missing. And while they fit in most of the stuff, what they completely gotten rid of is unit portraits. Unit portraits were here, showing the head of a unit. And then as an observer, and this is what I mostly do, is you left-click on the portrait, and then the camera in-game follows that unit. This is what I use 99% of the time for observing. Because the upside of that is, it's the smoothest camera movement for observing. If you scroll to the edges of the screen, it's shaky. If you use arrow keys, oh my god, I'm getting sick immediately. There is a hotkey for it to center on the unit or building that is selected, but if you keep that pressed, it looks very shaky as well. They did build that feature into the hero thing. So if a hero is selected here, you can click on it and the camera jumps to that. But if they get rid of the profiles, smooth observing from Warcraft 3 is gone. So that's a downside, a big downside actually. If you want the game more observable and then take a feature away that makes the game more observable, again, not a net positive anymore. So that is definitely a problem from my side. As I said, bugs currently, you can't observe more than 12 players in custom games. LE color, like hotkeys get overwritten, but I think that might be by design. There's some other bugs, like if you select a hero, where is it? One sec, gotta find it. If you select a hero, like this in the bottom right-hand side, this portion here, the XP bar isn't working. So that's a little unfortunate. You can hover over it, it shows the XP, but as you see, the purple bar isn't showing currently. So that's a problem for sure. That should be there because it's a real good indicator. Also, there's a bug with illusions that makes them look really messy. So that's bad as well. Because the illusions, they behave as units, but they show the information of a hero and then all clutters up. A little bit unfortunate there as well. So my feedback on some of the UI elements. I'm going back once again to focus on one-on-one content. So what I hate with a passion is this thing here, the control panel. It's very good to make it easy to toggle these boxes on and off. But this is like what, 8 hotkeys? You can learn them really, really easy. And then you don't need this control panel anymore. And if you get rid of the control panel, you have that hole here on the side. And that looks really freaking weird. I think the control panel has to go somewhere else. You can put it, for example, here and make it hideable. You could also move it up. But then, of course, it's problematic when you have more than, let's say, 4 players. So I don't think it's necessary to show this. And it's just weird that the unit stats are not at the edge like this. Because then, if you have Minimap on the left-hand side and the unit stats on the right-hand side, it's pretty similar to what StarCraft is doing. There. When you have the Minimap here on the left and in the bottom right in a very small vertical space, but very broad horizontal space, you see what's selected. I think that is way better than this, or even this. Nope. Sorry, Photoshop noob. So yeah, that control panel, bad spot. This hole, it's also like, if there would have been a bigger hole, I don't say that everything needs to be cramped up or something, but this space right here, you can't put nothing in there. You can't put really information in there. You can't put a player camera in there. Maybe X-Lord, but who knows. So yeah, that is just wasted space that looks weird and it's not necessary. So yeah, that has to be changed. In general, I think that panels, especially here in the south, you have this entire bottom to work with. And here, on the right-hand side, you already save some space by moving the box over. And then if everything is selected, maybe even at 4 players, let's show 4 players. Even if everything is selected, you have this space that is just lost. I mean, you can put a streamer camera there, ads or whatever, but it looks really weird if there's just a hole here. So why not use more horizontal space and less vertical space? I think that is doable, especially if you redesign the entirety of this element, which I think is definitely necessary. In general, I think they could use a little more transparency while still being readable. What I also very much dislike is how ununiform this entire thing is. Because I created some helpers lines. Oh wait, I've screwed things up a little bit, I think. Anyway, you'll get the idea. So, what's wrong? Oh yeah. So, every single UI element has a different height and width. So, nothing's really aligning. At the bottom, you have this line here that almost works fine, but then you have this outstanding control panel here, you have the replay panel here, the minimap has a certain width to it that doesn't match and cannot match this box, but since this box here is dynamic, it can also never match the width of this box. And then if you put this together, it's not uniform with the resources here in the upper side, which doesn't align with the clock, and it's a different height, which is probably because they designed it for 1 to 12 players and not just 1 to 2. And it's also not aligning with this one here because there's this toggleable box and everything is a mess. And this is where it comes to like some limitations that I don't really know about, and they want to make it fit for 12 players, but everything seems a little all over the place, does it not? It's not very defined. It's how can we somehow make this work and try our best. Also, very, very nitpicky now. There's a 2 pixel difference between this box and this box. But hey, that can be adjusted relatively easy. But yeah. This doesn't look clean, really. I dislike that. I don't think that this toggle here has to show. It could just be separate from each other, like show units and show production, but I mean, obviously, if you select both at the same time, it will be cluttered. But then there must be a function somehow, coding-wise, that only one can be shown. And then it looks way nicer because you can move this part up, and then it aligns ideally with this part right here somehow. So that would be kind of nice to have. And I think it would also be kind of better. This doesn't look good. Also, there is 1, 2, 3 times where you mention the player name. I know you want to make it work independently from each other because it's all selectable, but in general, you should know that. because this should be recognizable by colors. Speaking of colors, 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, a lot of color indicators. That should be cleaner. Another thing, which is really confusing, is this right here. The player color is red. I think you know where I'm going with this. The player color is red, so the bar indicates the player color. But the opponent's race crest is also red. This is super confusing. You can fix this so easily by making race indicator player color. The easiest. It's not confusing. It is super confusing. For a player who is not super deep in the game, he has no idea about that. It gets even worse in 2 and 2 when there's 4 colors involved. Like, this guy has player color teal, but his race is like red, and this guy has teal here, but he's purple, but purple is mentioned here, but he's blue, but blue is mentioned here, but he's supposed to be red, but red is here. Like, woof. Unnecessary because there's such an easy solution to it. Race indicator equals player color, boom, problem solved. Yeah. It's easy. In general, this is a little bit overlooked, but they just gave us these new race indicators. And I think they're pretty dope, to be honest. I wasn't a big fan when they introduced them with the crests behind them in Reforged, but I think it's sometimes it's like this is a little too detailed. This looks like a uterus and it's also very detailed. But in general, for using for the first time really race indicators in a Warcraft game, this is pretty dope. I can get used to that. I don't hate them at all. So they're also used on Liquipedia now, so we'll get used to them together. I mean, for Horde and Lordaeron, it's nothing too new, but yeah. I mean, Night Elf is a moon, that makes sense. This is a skull. This is all, this is cool. I like it. That's a very good development. I do like the old race crests a little better, but it's also nostalgia, and updating them and having them in high quality will be very cool. So, moving on. As I said, this is an absolute nightmare. So when you look at a screen, I prepared something, but I can't. Okay. When you look at a screen, where are you watching? Into the middle, right? So that's there, basically. That's where the action should happen. That's like the heat map. This is where the focus point of the battle, for example, should be ideally. So then there's also like some peripheral vision, which is somewhat like this. And there it already gets a little messy. But let's move away from the 8-player. Let's get back to the 1-on-1 because that's more important. So I think this replay panel is not really an issue. So it should be rather this somehow. And here again, it bugs me that the bottom side is so high in the middle of the screen. Like this part right here. If this is lower but wider, you have more freedom and more space in the middle where the action is happening. Also, this with more than 2 players, not ideal. That's why I advocate for moving this up without the drop box and even without the player names. And then you have also more space here that doesn't interfere with like units that are running away or anything. So keep this as clean as possible. Move the bottom boxes down while keeping the same information with a little bit of restructure that might be necessary for that. And then, how do you gather information when it's set up like this? So you want to see who's playing. So you gotta look here. Oh, what the? And then kind of screwed this up a little bit. So you gotta look here. Who's playing? Okay. Then from who's playing, you want to know what the state of the game is. The best indicator for that is oftentimes supply. Like on first view, it's supply. So you move from there to here. And then you compare this. And then you think, but what about the hero levels and what about the economy? So you have to move from here to check the hero levels. And then you see, but what is the state of the game? Where's the production? Then you move here. And that is not ideal. You make a lot of way with an overlay like this to gather information about the state of a game. So that's also why I think that it's not really good to have the panels set up by content, but you should have a panel for a player. Basically, like, it's easier in StarCraft for sure. Like, they do make the same mistake, by the way, in StarCraft Remaster, where for them it's even weirder because they have the score. This is from a broadcast. They have the box here, and then they have the score on the bottom left. It's really not good. In StarCraft 2, this is done a whole lot better. You move everything down. You have races here, player here, resources, boom, one view. You have production on a different side, but it's kind of fine. You can compare a lot easier on first view. So that's better, in my opinion. Even better, League of Legends. This is almost perfect. First view, boom, like this. That's the score. That's an instant comparison to how much gold someone has. Then your eyes move down. See, okay, that's the score. What about the heroes? Boom, you move down to the heroes, to this one, and then you have a state of the game in 2 views. And then for a little bit of details, you can move to the side, where, by the way, they kept everything freaking clean except the bottom. But here is a lot more space there and also there. So yeah, this is confusing. You have to do, plus, of course, on top of that, you have to look into the middle to see what's going on in the battle. That's, oh my God. That takes a lot of effort, in my opinion. You have to travel to all quarters instead of having it in one view. It's really tough to provide good information on one view, but it's not impossible. Also, missing from this, upgrades, for example, never shown anywhere with this, while displaying something like APM, which I don't think is necessary. Okay, taking a little break for comments here now. So we resume with the feedback on the observer mode, and I think this is pretty much one-to-one copied from StarCraft, that having these 2 coins here, having the 2 trees here, having the 2 chicken legs here is unnecessary. Put it, make it one coin, put it here. StarCraft does it really well, in my opinion. There you go. Minerals, gas, boom. Clear indicator. They even have cool indicators of who gathers more at the moment, which is super nice. That's next level. I don't expect the Warcraft team to do that, but this is just redundant. Like, you know it's gold. Minimize it. Here again, disclaimer, might be hard to do. I don't know. But if you can put an icon there, you can definitely remove an icon there. And they implemented custom graphics already, so they can do it there as well, I think. APM, I think, completely irrelevant. This is a garbage metric that doesn't show us anything. I know they did the exact same thing at StarCraft Remastered. Not necessary. Cool that you can do it, but just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do that. In a perfect world, we get a color indicator if a player is supply blocked or if he's in upkeep. Ideally, both. I think War 3 Booster does this well, for example. You can take inspiration from there. Race indicators should be mixed with the player color. I said that already. Teams. Oh, guys, I get a headache. Like, the team indicator is a number. I don't really like that. So, different approach. You make the race indicator player color, and then you use this to display team color. So this entire thing would then be red. This entire thing would be red, and this entire thing would be blue. Then you have two lines. That makes more sense in my opinion. While still keeping the player color indicated here, then you can get rid of this. But then again, since they want to do it for 12 players, things are getting a little messy there, but I think it's doable. I think it's better. This also would work here on the left-hand side to a degree. But we focus on one-on-one. So for one-on-one, you can just get rid of the team indicator, of course. As I said before, the resource overlay doesn't align with the clock. As you can see here. Oops, that's also something that should be gone. It doesn't align with the clock. And in general, I think this clock, while we're at it, can be gone. You can disable it, but it's very valuable information. I think the clock could be minimized the way we do it. And I would also absolutely love to see a real clock in-game. Like we see, for example, at StarCraft here. And we also see that in StarCraft 2 here. This is something I would love to see. This is just in Warcraft. It's an ugly piece of UI that now also doesn't fit anything anymore. So minimalize it, show day and night circle plus the real in-game time, make it minimal, and then it's a lot better. Did I just delete the minimap by accident? That would be quite bad. Yep, I did. Okay. So that brings us to production and units. So first little thing here. I talked about this toggle that I hate. I talked about the fact that I would like it separate. I'm not really sure if you need the player name if you have the color indicator. Bug or weird feature. The heroes are always listed as his units, even if they're dead or alive. So that's odd. That's misleading, in my opinion. I don't know if there's a reason behind it, but they always appear as if they are alive. You could change this if to a more StarCraft style, because I think also StarCraft does this kind of well. You don't have a Dropbox. What it is displayed as simply text, and then the rest is basically Warcraft, like they did it here as well. So in general, this is kind of fine. Might be a little too big if you build as many units as computer normal does, because then it's here almost in the middle of the screen already. But that's hard to prevent. If you have this option to display something here, you should add a third drop down with stuff that is finished, especially upgrades. Upgrades are so important in Warcraft. That should be displayed. And then you can put, like, the world is your oyster when it comes to implementing features in this box. Like resources spent on army, total value, currently carried items, etc., etc., etc. But for now, we stick with what we have. But upgrades, I think, are really important to show somewhere. The progress bar could be a little bigger in my opinion. Did I show that somewhere? Maybe it's shown here. Yeah. So the progress bar in production is relatively small. This could, I don't know if this should be player color, because this is getting weird with stuff like purple, where it's kind of hard to see how far progressed it is. No problem with yellow, no problem with like teal, but brown? Is that peasant close to finishing or not? I don't know. StarCraft, again, reference to StarCraft, uses white. White works all the time. Problem is, we have white player color in Warcraft. I still think this is done better. This is definitely done better than this. So, yeah, so much for that. Definitely improvable. There's some other stuff that seems to be bugged in the unit and production type. For example, some summons don't show up while others stuff does. Like a disease cloud shows up in the units tab. I don't know why. Serpent wards do show up, wolves do show up, beetles, especially buried, won't show up. This is just weird. That seems like a bug or flaw. But Warcraft is weird, so I can understand that there's bugs. Minimap. You guys pointed out already that the position of the minimap is very good. In the original Warcraft, we had a hole here where we put player cameras and we do production there, but that is only because we couldn't move the minimap to the side. The original minimap is somewhere like here. And that's weird. I like it. Minimap to the side is exactly where it's supposed to be. I would even argue to make it 10% bigger. Like this, maybe, roundabout. Helps with visibility and creates a second height that you can use. Makes it a little more dynamic. When then you continue to build from this height, and then you go StarCraft style and put a lot of information this height to have the middle cleaned. Like, once again, reference StarCraft, high minimap, and then at half of the minimap starts the information. It doesn't really matter that this part here is occupied because it's not distracting in a fight. But if you have the entire field of view blocked round about here, that interferes with the action in the middle. So that's a little bit annoying. So yeah, I would, if I could, I would increase the minimap size. Could show the map name like War3 Booster does. Also, again, like StarCraft does. And as I said, this tiny little nitpick is that it's not aligning 100% with the height of the hero box, as you see. Like if it's that height, then it should align. But I would like to see a little drop off from minimap to information. So hero box. Whew. Hero box only supports 4 players, no matter how many players are in the game. So clear limitation. For more than 8 players, there's just no space here. So they have drop tables so you can select the 4 heroes you want to showcase. That's weird. That's a limitation. It does work for 2-on-2. It would work for 4-player FFA, etc. But for more than 4, it just simply doesn't work. I will once again refer to 1-on-1. As before, player name and player color. Plus, you have that drop box when there's only 4 players, when there's no need for that. That's kind of weird. I do like that they created basically boxes and it's all fitting there. They also want to make it intuitive to have the inventory slots pretty much like the inventory slots in the Warcraft UI. I decided against that for UI reasons. Yes, you're used to seeing the inventory with 2x3, but I think it just works a lot better and you save a lot of space if you make it 3x2, use the horizontal space a little more than the vertical space. Problem? It only shows the level, no decimals, no progress, no yellow XP line or anything. You just know that this hero is level 4 and nothing else. You don't know if it's close to 5 or not. Then, when you have 3 different spells selected, there's a hole here, which is not ideal, and this is why I advocate for a system more like the Back to Warcraft overlay over this. I always hate this. Makes sense to display because usually you only have 2 spells selected in a 1-on-1 game, but it gets really weird to have a hole here that shouldn't be. Also, you don't see cooldowns. You don't see cooldowns on items, you don't see cooldown on spells. And yeah, that must be extractable somehow. It's kind of cool, and that's an upside. You can click on a hero here, and the camera focuses on that hero. I love that. That's super cool. Ideally, you should have that for all stuff, but it gets weird when you have 8 acolytes selected, and where does the camera jump from there, etc. But in general, it's a cool feature. Even better if it then follows the hero like the unit portrait now. Also, while we talked about cooldowns, it doesn't show if a spell is usable or not in terms of mana. So it's not grayed out if you don't have the necessary mana for an impale. The hero does gray out when it's dead. That's super cool. I think it's a little too grayed out even. Makes it hard to read at times. But in general, cool that it gets deselected at times. Or that the color gets removed. That is very good. If I had like a genie's lamp or something, and I could have a wish, I would love to see an indicator if a hero is stunned or silenced. That would be freaking nice. Like just the icon on top, like it's done in Dota and League of Legends. And also, if everything here is grayed out because the hero is dead, you could show with 2 icons or 1 icon if a hero is revivable if you have the resources to revive that hero or not. But that's just adding on top. In general, cool that they realize that showing the heroes is important and they made a specific panel for that. I like it. I don't really like that there's a hole between a full out expanded hero panel and this on the right hand side. This is always empty, and this is kind of weird. So that's odd. And I think if you go with a more horizontal design, like the Back to Warcraft overlay. Wait, can I show it to you? Is it still up? Yeah. So as you can see in our overlay, let's say upper left-hand side, we rearranged the inventory horizontally and put the spells also horizontally. That buys you time in the vertical dimension, which would then open up the field at the bottom, which I think is the way to go. Where are we at? I think what's next? Unit stats. Oh boy. That is this thing right here. Can you see it? Yeah, this thing right here. And I understand that it's really, really complicated to get this done and do this right. Because there's a lot of different things to display in a Warcraft game. This can show a hero. This can show a normal unit. This can show a unit that has mana. This can show a unit that has one attack. This can show a unit that has an attack, one specific one for land attacks and one specific one for air attacks. This could also be a hero, I did say that, right? This could be a building with production. This could be a building without production. And that leads to weird stuff. So I screenshotted, I think, everything. So yeah, it can look like this, where you have, for example, the Necromancer, where you need to display name, HP, mana, damage, armor, all the types, rank, and you want to see if it's affected by an aura or by disease cloud or anything. Sometimes you have to put a lot of information there. Also with heroes, you want to see the inventory ideally, you want to see strength and intelligence, etc. But then also, you already have the inventory here at the hero panel. Do you need it here on the right-hand side? I'm not too sure. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And then sometimes, there's stuff like this. Whew. Empty space. What? I can't draw over that. Okay, empty space here, 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 here. All empty, all unnecessary, and it's all clumped up to show 5 informations. That is unnecessary. And I think it must be possible to somewhat hack this and design it, because this is exactly as it's shown in the original game, in the box at the middle of the UI. But this is not. They created the HP bar and put them in a different spot. Same for the mana bar, same for the inventory that is put in a different position, same for strength. And they modified this to have it look exactly like it does now. And so they know how to hack it. So I'd say hack the hell out of it. First thing, get rid of that box. It's huge, and once again, vertical space that you kind of want to give to the game itself. So I'd say, again, Copy StarCraft. Copy StarCraft. Make it like this. Reduce it in size by half. Make it wider. That also helps you to close the gap between like the hero panel that was here. Put the name at the top. Put the unit portrait here. Make it clickable so we can use the follow that unit command when observing tournaments, and there is a better graphical indicator of what's currently selected because there's no unit portrait anymore, there is no unit icon anywhere. This is done a lot better than this, where at first view the only indicator of what this is here. And that's not cool. So yeah, make it StarCrafty. You can display it pretty much exactly like they do here. Have the health either like this or with a bar. Put the mana here. I did do a little mock-up, I think. How to put it. Ah, no, that's just the box then. But yeah, you could either, that is basically a template, right? This is way too big. Unit profile. Here. You can display HP and mana. HP, mana below it. Like here, as you do in the hero portraits. And then you have space here. Oh, this is obviously name. Then you have attack 1, attack 2, armor. Here. And here you can display, I don't know, rank of a unit, rank, stats, whatever. On the right hand side, if necessary. And here is status plus updates. So you cover everything you want to cover in way less space, with better visibility, with a better look, because you have a better indicator of what unit it is with a profile thing here, and you use a lot less space before, without having everything so empty. That is, I think, what we should do instead of this. Or with heroes, you can of course display inventory or whatever. Yeah. This box here could be super cool, but at the moment it's pretty bad because it looks so unoriginal, uncolorful. There's not much to gain there. It looks unappealing. So yeah, that's pretty much my feedback. What we will do, I'm already in talks. We will use the Back to Warcraft overlay that you like and hopefully are used to, etc. We will not use the hero box. We will not use the resources. We will use the minimap here on the side, which gives us a lot of options. I think we have to use this one. I don't like it, but I think it's necessary. But then, and ideally, they move this to the side. That gives us, oh, I really want to get rid of that. Where was it? Minimap, right? So this gives this entire space for score and player. And then we have so much space here. We can build super cool stuff. We can build something StarCraft-esque. I'm not 100% sure if this is the way to go for Warcraft, because in StarCraft, of course, you don't have heroes, and heroes are a vital part of Warcraft 3. This is why I'm leaning more towards League of Legends. I think the League of Legends overlay is freaking gorgeous. So, player and some information here at the top, in the middle, just brief and not too high. Hero indicator on the side, minimal. Not all information, just to give you an overview. And then lots of information displayed here to compare. Minimap on the side. That must be switched then. I think that's the future. So yeah, there was a lot of feedback. There was a lot of nitpicking. This was a lot of thoughts. I will probably come up with a better design of that player box in a bit. But yeah, time was of the essence. And I wanted to get it out there. Whew, that was like, what was it? 1.5 hours of Observer stuff. Yeah, in my opinion, just as a recap, very, very cool that they do this. Probably super hard to do this. Probably a lot of limitations, a lot of restrictions that they are bound to. They give some of these chains to themselves because they wanted to make it work for 12 players, when I think that's not possible. I think creating boxes that display information for a player, if they want to go with this 12 players stuff, creating boxes that show the information for a player instead of for the content is better than having boxes with content, even though it's also hard to compare between players then. The control panel must go from that side to open up the right-hand side. Minimap could ideally be a little bigger. Hero box needs some work, but it's cool that it's there. Production and unit display could need some work, could also be a little smaller, and can be enhanced quite a bit and just be made more visibly pleasing, with boxes having more alignment in height and width and general a better feel and fit. That's my feedback for the Observer mode. Thank you for watching, and hopefully we see some patches soon for that. The patches on the patch on the PTR. Because if I don't have follow the unit portrait camera, observing will be really hard. And yeah, looking forward to changes.